I've usually got three books going at one time. One in bed, the one to put me to sleep. One I listen to while I'm walking or exercising. And then there's one that's sort of the main thing I'm really locked in on. This week, the bedtime one was Agatha Christie's three-act tragedy, a Poirot mystery. The listen to book was John Sandford's Stolen Prey. With Prey in the title, you know it's Lucas Davenport. And the main one I'm reading is an 800-page doorstopper that I haven't finished yet. And I figured what I would do is to compare styles between Agatha Christie and John Sandford. The question that was running through my mind was why I enjoy both these really, really different writers. And I do. I enjoy them both a lot. And I've reviewed a bunch of them on this channel. Now, if you take Agatha Christie, her writing style seems to focus on plot, whodunit. She tends to use character interaction to create suspense and to reveal clues. And finally, with her books, you can always expect surprise endings. You do your best to keep up with her, but most often I'm surprised. In terms of the way she puts her stories on paper, she seems to me, and this isn't particularly smart but observation, but she seems to use a lot of short sentences. And I'll tell you what, that's a real plus for someone with my somewhat short attention span. She seems to like dialogue, rather than, I guess, what you'd call a straight narrative to move the story along. Take this one, for example, three-act tragedy. The story is structured in three acts, and when you get through with it, you understand why it's got that title. At the heart of it is a pair of murders committed at two different dinner parties. Both are committed using nicotine poison. I never heard of it either. But she really likes her murders bloodless, and this gives her two murders that are absolutely bloodless. Now, she throws plenty of quaint names at you, like people. Reverend Babington and Sir Bartholomew Strange are the victims. And you've got people like Sir Charles Cartwright and Mr. Satterthwaite, who are some of the other names and characters. And of course, you've got a quaint English village, and the place is called Loomoth, something like that. I don't know how you would pronounce it. Her main guy, Hercule Poirot, he's in it just mostly at the end. He's helped by the other characters to dig into some intricate personal relationships, motivations, fears of the main suspects. And so, in addition to the murders, you get blackmail, deceit, hidden identities. Poirot puts the whole thing together, and I felt pretty satisfied, even though I wasn't able to figure it out as I went. Now, John Sandford is completely the opposite. Instead of quaint English villages, you get Minnesota, especially the area around St. Paul and Minneapolis. Instead of polite English gentry, you get the cops, the criminals, ordinary people of Minnesota. And instead of bloodless murders, John Sandford doesn't shy away from blood and plenty of gore. And the question in all of his books isn't who did it. It's how are we going to get them. Now, I'd say where Agatha Christie tends to focus on getting to the solution of the mystery, John Sandford's main emphasis seems to be on character. Now, in the Prey books, his main interest is his hero, Lucas Davenport. The thing that moves the plot along is how Davenport acts and reacts to everything around him. He's a kind of a complicated guy. He's primarily a hunter at heart, but he's trying to be a good guy with his wife, his kids, and his friends. But Davenport isn't the only character that John Sandford pays attention to. He usually starts his books off with a crime. He lets you know what the bad guys are doing all through the story. He paints pretty clear pictures of what they're doing, what they're thinking, and what they're afraid of. As far as writing style goes, John Sandford, I think, is absolutely clear and uncomplicated. And he takes pacing in his stories very, very seriously. He keeps the plot moving, and he keeps you, the reader, me, or in this case, the listener, engaged and really needing to see what happens next. For example, take this book I just finished, Stolen Prey. The basic plot concerns the massacre of an entire family in a suburb of St. Paul. We know from the start that the perpetrators are a handful of killers from a Mexican cartel. The descriptions of the murders are pretty gory, to be frank with you. So what drives the main plot is getting these killers. It's the hunt for these Mexican killers. But this book starts somewhat differently, with Lucas being mugged in the early morning hours by a couple of meth addicts. Every step of the way, the story is told with what I think professional reviewers would call gritty realism. Whether it's the actual steps that law enforcement takes to identify and locate these people, or whether it's the conversation and joking between the cops while they're on the job, or even the family relationships that Lucas Davenport has. Now, all of this realism is a far cry from the somewhat polite and sterile environment that Hercule Poirot operates in. Well, if they're so different, these two writers, why do I like them both? And I guess the reason is that they're so good at what each of them is trying to do. Agatha Christie is trying to entertain by presenting a puzzle that we can, and I can, unsuccessfully most often, try to solve along with Poirot. John Sandford, on the other hand, is presenting the story of a hunt, and he does that very, very well indeed. So these two books, Three-Act Tragedy and Stolen Prey, finished them this week, liked them both, and recommend them both. I'll see you next week.